in there, and he'll be on later today, this afternoon. John, I'm going to take no commercial break here, and we'll get right into another conversation that I wanted to have here about the OTAs. You brought it up to Mike Gill. We didn't have a chance to talk about it in the open, but Jalen Hurts seems to be looks very sharp at practice. There was a report of the big throw yesterday to Dallas Goedert, dropped it right in the bucket over the shoulder. You said he's looked in control, confident, and good overall at OTAs. What have you seen from QB1? Give the people an update, John. He is the most important man on the football team.
Just comfort. I think there's that narrative, and it's going to be there for the entire year probably, but another change at offensive coordinator and play caller to Kevin Patullo. But, I mean, this is not the same as last year, and last year worked out anyway. So I don't know why that's going to continue to be a narrative, but it will. I know that. So, he looked tremendously shaky last spring and uncertain. With legitimately new terminology and things like that. And the Eagles were also trying to do a bunch of things in the spring of dumping the football off, which he's typically not, what he wants to do, just dump it off to the running back. A lot of motion, trying to bring the Kellen Moore concepts in before they scaled it back. Just was uncomfortable. And now, the Eagles call it the Eagles offense. I know you called it the Jalen Hurts offense. It always ends up in the same place. So
Right.
It's starting in the same place. And I think not that they're not trying to improve on certain things. They have thrown underneath stuff. Yesterday, that big whole period devoted to getting the tight ends involved, which I can't remember seeing in the past. Sure, it's happened, but I can't remember it offhand. Sometimes, remember, they have 6 of these things. We only get to see 2 of them. So they might have done it last year, and we weren't there that day, which is probably more. But this is the first time I've seen it. And it just looks comfortable. And that was not the case last year. And by the way, they won the Super Bowl last year, so it didn't even matter. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing.
So, John, last time the Eagles lost an offensive coordinator to a job promotion was after Shane Steichen, and they hired from within. I don't think it failed as much as they made it seem like it failed, but it failed. He was fired and let go after the following season. That was Brian Johnson. Then they went outside the building, brought in Kellen Moore. The rest is history. Obviously, won a Super Bowl. This year, they went back to the promote from within. Well, do you think they made the right decision this time around? Seems like they did so far.
Yeah, I think they did. And I don't look at Brian Johnson as a failure. And I know people,
I don't at all. But some people do.
I know people look at that and balk, and because what the Eagles did, and they fired him essentially. But to me, that's you can't do this, but I wonder if the timing worked out. And Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator in 2023. What would have happened with that same offense?
Right.
And I think it would have been
much better. I don't know if they would have been as good as last year because they didn't have.
No, I'm saying, they started 10-1 even with it. I don't think you have the collapse. I'm not saying they win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're number 1, but the whole landscape shifts.
Yeah, the defense wouldn't have been 30th overall or whatever they were.
The whole landscape shifts, and it has nothing to do with the offense. Nothing. To me, the entirety of that collapse was on the defense. Entirety of it.
Yeah, I mean, the offense was 8th ranked overall. I mean, I don't know what more. I get it. You can have great desires of being top 5, but Brian Johnson objectively did a pretty damn good job. I mean, I know he was scapegoated, but I don't.
Yeah, that's number 8 without with DeAndre Swift, not Saquon Barkley.
Right.
Yeah,
I hope Brian Johnson gets another. I think he will, but I hope he does.
If Bick was here that year and the timing worked out, I believe Brian Johnson would already be a head coach in the NFL.
Yep. Now he's what? He's back to quarterbacks coach, right? In Washington.
No, he's
Oh, he's offensive assistant, or
he is I believe assistant head coach and passing game coordinator. I have to look it up. The titles are outrageous in the NFL.
dude, there's so many. I mean, when we first talked about that, I'm like, all right, John, I kind of followed, and now that I've been in it, it's just like, oh my god, the titling, the names of everything.
Well, look at
HD, yeah.
You look at Kevin Patullo's job. He's the assistant head coach, pass game coordinator, and with the Commanders. But Kevin Patullo's job title last year. Now, if you said to a novice and trying to explain football to them, he was the associate head coach, passing game coordinator. Associate head coach, passing game coordinator. And you said now he's the offensive coordinator. You'd say, oh, he got demoted. No, he didn't get demoted. He got promoted. Yeah, it's silly. It's silly.
It's very silly. But the good news here on this conversation is that Jalen Hurts looks sharp at practice. Walk us through that big play yesterday, John. Apparently, it was the play of the day. You wrote that it stole the show in the article. Just give us an inside look.
Yeah,
John.
man.
Give a little play-by-play from John McMullen.
It's a go route. Yeah, Jalen could throw those go routes. I remember that back and forth we had. I forget what game it was, but I said, you seem to have a knack for that deep ball. And he pushed back at me and said, yeah, that's whatever he said. That's not what they say. And I said, who's they? I said,
I remember that.
I just said, you really have a knack for it. And then he said, thank you. But, yeah, I mean, he and I talked about it last year before the Super Bowl, and it worked brilliantly. He's got a real knack for throwing that particular pass. And, typically it's AJ or even Devontae, but, they were working this tight end heavy drill, as I mentioned, and they were specifically trying to get the tight ends matched up, outside with linebackers. And, they got Dallas on Zach Ball, who carried him pretty well down the field, but Jalen put a throw on the outside shoulder exactly where it's supposed to be. It's a difficult catch as well, so Dallas deserves credit because he's, looking over his head, and he dropped it right in the bucket for a big play down the field, 30, 35 yards, whatever it was. But, yeah, I mean, he's got an unbelievable knack for dropping that football in on that particular throw. And you normally don't see it with the tight ends, but you got to see it with Dallas Goedert. He's an impressive player as well. Yeah, I can't even believe the Eagles went down that route, but it worked out, so it doesn't matter. And yeah, he's been now most of it has been underneath stuff, and most of it has been checked down. So you see Elliott's completion percentage is probably like 95%. The ball never hits the ground with him or Tanner McKee. The only time the ball hit the ground yesterday, there was a pass breakup by Mac McWilliams, which was a pretty nice play on the great Harrison Bryant. Sorry, JD. Maybe 2 or 3 incompletions from Jalen, maybe 2 or 3 from Tanner. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson did not look good. And Kyle McCord looked much better in very few reps. You get very few reps when you're down that low.
Dorian's probably going to be gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could probably get him on the practice squad if they want to keep 4.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're not
cutting. The third emergency quarterback isn't going to be Dorian. It's probably going to be McCord, you think?
Unless Clayton Thorson's it, and he's not. I mean, you already see he carries himself like an NFL quarterback is how I describe Kyle McCord. Yeah. Not saying he's going to be great, but he made a couple nice throws yesterday. And he seems very confident. More of a pocket style passer, obviously. Very competent for a young player. Yeah, he's gonna pass DRT pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, John, I know you said you don't like to speculate on this show, actually, or project, but what do you think? Like Hurts, what do you think the season's going to look like for him
I
this
think
year?
he's going to have a better season, but
I
I don't really think it's going to be close. One, I don't think he played that well last season, so I'm on an island there. I think it was arguably his worst season as a starting quarterback over not the final 2 games, over the entire season. So I think he's going to go back to what he normally is, which was at a higher level, and probably, experience, comfort, probably get even a little bit better than that. And I think he's on track to have his best personal season in his career. And guess what? They might not win the Super Bowl, and that's possible. But, again, if your only gauge is did he win the Super Bowl or not, well, then I'm probably going to have to lean he's going to have a worse season, but that's not how I evaluate quarterbacks.
no,
I think
yeah, I don't either.
I think he's going to be a better player this upcoming season.
Good stuff there on Jalen Hurts. Big throw to Dallas Goedert yesterday. So good to have Goddard back in the mix. Good stuff here. We got Brandon Lee Gouton coming up in about 3 minutes here on Birds 365. We haven't taken a commercial break, so I'm going to hit the commercial break right now. Appreciate all of you guys being here this morning on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365. We've had great viewership all throughout the offseason, and that continues here today. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like button for me. What are we at? We're at 82 likes. Can we get to 100 before the break is over in 3 minutes? We'll be right back on Birds 365 in 3 minutes.
Welcome to the Jet Setters.